I made my very own swimsuit and I'm so happy with how it turned out. I recorded the process so I could share with you kind of what I went through to make it. It really was not as hard as I expected it to be. It came together super fast and it was really easy to put together. So I definitely encourage you to give making a swimsuit a try. It's really not that hard. I used the Vernazza two-piece from Friday Pattern Company. It was a great pattern, really easy to follow. I did make some adjustments to it and I plan to make a few more adjustments to it. But overall, I am so happy with how it turned out. So let's get into it. I'm making the Vernazza two-piece from Friday Pattern Company. This is my first swimsuit, but it is not my first knit project. So I'm feeling pretty good about it. I'm feeling pretty confident that I'm going to be able to pull this off. I did make a few adjustments to the pattern on the bottoms. So a couple of things I did, I took out 1.5 inches from the rise. So I looked through the Instagram hashtag for this pattern and I noticed that it is very high waisted, much more so than I wanted. So I cut at the lengthen shorten line and then I brought that down 1.5 inches, which I'm now realizing I may have brought that down 3 inches. This is why this is not a tutorial and this is a watch me hopefully not fuck this up. I did take it down 3 inches, not 1.5 inches because dang it. Well, I'm glad I realized this now. I do this all the time when I lengthen shorten. So patterns will have a lengthen shorten line where you cut and then overlap. And I always overlap the amount that I'm trying to remove instead of half of that amount because I should have overlapped 3/4 on this piece and then 3/4 inch on the other piece, not 1.5 inches total because now that's a 3 inch out of the rise, which is, I was wondering why this, oh my God. Okay. I still feel like it'll be okay because I was debating taking 2 inches out of the rise, but that just felt like so much. You can't see this, but I'm holding the pattern piece just kind of up on my body. And I actually feel like it's going to be okay. I feel like it's going to be okay. We're going to go with it and see what happens. I have a bodysuit that I've made, and something about me is whatever bottoms, underwear, bodysuit, swimsuits, they all crawl up my butt every time, get a wedgie. So I really adjusted the bottoms line to come out. This doesn't work for me. I need full coverage on my butt is what I like. So I used the bodysuit that I've made before that I've already done the adjustments on to kind of trace this line. And then the other weird thing I did, because in my life of owning swimsuits, I've always felt like I wish I could sew a small front to a large back. And I feel like that would fit me. So it's kind of what I did here. I measured to a large for this pattern and I cut the front of the bottom at a medium and I cut the back of the bottom at an extra large. And I'm hoping combined they will make a large and will fit me better. We'll find out. We'll see what happens. I have swimwear elastic, I have black poly thread, and of course a stretch needle for my notions. And then this is the fabric I'm using. I got this from the shop last year, maybe the year before. I think it was last year. And I don't know if I'm gonna have enough, but I have backup fabric to use for lining if I don't end up having enough. I'm going to not even look at the cutting chart in the pattern and we're just going to kind of wing things. We're going to wing it. If we can get all of our pattern pieces out of this fabric because I need to cut lining pieces as well. So we're going to cut all of our main pieces and then we'll go in and see how many lining pieces we can get from this. And whatever we can't get from this, I am going to use a different fabric that I found. I don't use pattern weights. I have these little mason jars that I filled up with all of my scraps, and that is what I like to use. And there we go. And I'm just going to be using my rotary cutter to cut this out. The other thing that I'm going to be smart and do is label my pieces. Usually I will just keep the pattern piece with the piece that I just cut, but in this case I need this piece again to cut a lining, so I'm just going to label this as bottom, front, D. And this is my Kylie in the Machine fabric label tape. We carry this at the shop. This is how I label all of the fabric in my stash, so I know what it is, how much I have, and then if I'm like saving it for a specific project. But it also works great for labeling your pattern pieces. We're back. I'm ready to start sewing. I have my instructions pulled up. And then a few things I changed on my sewing machine is I'm going to be using a zigzag stitch. I'm going to use this 3-step for top stitching. And then I'm actually going to use number 11, this lightning stitch for sewing everything together. This is really important when you're sewing knits because you need your stitch line to stretch with the fabric. But I've got my thread loaded, bobbin loaded. I cleaned my machine. I put in a stretch needle. Let's do this. We're starting with the top. I'm lining up top front pieces, back pieces, right sides together. And for knits, I really like using clips instead of pins. But if you use pins, just make sure you use ballpoint pins. And this one has you do the main and then the lining, but I'm gonna prep everything all at once and sew it all at once. My next step is adding swimwear elastic to the lining piece. And the instructions are having me mark 5/8 inch from the edge. That's where we're going to sew in the elastic. And I just wanted to show this handy tool that I love. This is our fashion multi-tool. But it's got 5/8 seam allowance, it's got 3/8 1/4 inch, so it makes it really easy to add or mark seam allowances. It has a French curve, which is great when you're doing pattern adjustments. It has a point that you can use as like a point turner. It has measurements, you can use it as a buttonhole gauge. Like, it's just freaking handy. And I don't know, I thought you might want to see that. But I am marking off 5/8, and then we're going to stitch the elastic to the inside, the lining piece, so we still have a smooth outside. So I cut my length of elastic per the pattern instructions, I measured basically this whole neckline around the back, around the neckline between the notches, and it said 90% plus an inch seam allowance. So for me, that was 36 inches. And then I am quartering the elastic. So I found the midpoint, and then I'm finding the quarter point and just marking that. And then we'll quarter along the neckline so that way we can get the elastic distributed evenly. So this is used anytime you're putting like a neckband on or something. It's a good idea to quarter and mark everything. So this is obviously going to be my midpoint at the back here. And then this whole thing measured 39 inches, which is 19.5, no, 39 divided in 2, because I am using my phone to record and I can't do math, is 19.5. I was correct. So we're going to measure 19.5 from that center mark and then make a mark, and then we'll match up the elastic where it needs to go. Okay, this is 9.5 at the shoulder seam. Oh, sorry, we need half of 19.5. Oh my goodness. This is why this is not a tutorial, and this is a watch me figure out how to do this. So half of 19.5 is 9 3/4. So we are measuring 9 3/4 from our center mark right at the shoulder seam. So that's easy. So then the elastic goes, let me read through the instructions, make sure I'm doing this. Mark each quarter, pin the elastic to the wrong side of your lining piece, starting at the notch on your neckline, that's here. 5 inches from the edge, I marked that. Match up, pin your quartering marks on your elastic and neckline. Use a zigzag stitch to sew it so that it reaches from notch to notch. Back stitch at the beginning and the end. 5 inches from the edge. So I think this actually, I had it here on the inside of the marking, but I think it actually needs to go here. Yes, because later we'll sew these together at a 5/8 seam allowance, and I want the elastic to be on the inside of that. So this is going to go here. Okay, so that's going there. This goes here. And this is not really working well. I can't find my ballpoint pins. So we're going to use a regular pin and it's going to be okay. And then this one goes in the center. There. And then this will go here. Okay. Use a zigzag stitch to sew elastic so that it reaches from notch to notch. Be sure to back stitch at the beginning and the end. Okay, let's go sew. Okay, that went pretty well. So that's our lining piece, and that's going to hold everything nice and tight once we get the two sewn together. I have the next step all ready to sew here. So I've paired the main fabric and the lining together, and I just kind of paired them up at the notches, the shoulder seams, and then these little ties. And then I will have to kind of stretch my lining piece as I'm going to sew those together, but I am sewing this all the way around add a 1/2 inch. Here we go. Whew, we did it. That was a little stressful. I'm deviating a little bit from the pattern instructions for the elastic. It has you overlap the elastic a 1/2 inch and then stitch it together, but that leaves like a really bulky spot. So I zigzagged it end to end like this. And then I'm going to take a little scrap piece and wrap it around and then zigzag up and down. I already did the other one. Where did it go? The joys of sewing, looking for the thing you literally just had in your hand. Ah, it's hiding. Like this. So yeah, I wrap the little scrap around and zigzag like this. This just makes it a little more flat at the join, and then it's really secure. Like that's not coming apart. So I'm going to do that for this other one. And then these are going into the armholes. So there we go. And we're doing the same thing we did before. Oh no. Oh no. I made an infinity. God damn it. Okay. Well, didn't do it on the other one, right? No, the other one is correct. Again, what sewing is actually like, right? If you're not using your seam ripper, you're lying. I don't think I've ever made a single sewing project without using my seam ripper. So I'm going to do that all again, but this time I'm going to make sure the elastic isn't twisted. All right. I will. BRB. Fixed. Took 2 seconds. Okay. Now we are going to quarter the same way we did before. And then this is going into the armholes. And I also realized I did not buy enough elastic, so I need to go buy, and I think I'm out at the store, so I don't know. I have to figure something out for the bottoms. Got my elastic quartered and in place. Now we are stitching this on. That was probably the trickiest bit of sewing I've done so far. So that was top stitching the elastic down in the armhole, and it is just so thick. So I stitched the elastic on the wrong side after quartering it and everything, and then flipped it towards the wrong side and top stitched from the top. And it was just real tricky because of how thick it is. But I've got to do this other side, so here we go. And I'm using the 3-step zigzag for the top stitch. Just like the look of it. And I have spots where the fabric's kind of bunching, so I'm just periodically lifting my foot and kind of smoothing things out. Yeah, I'm making sure it's folded over right to the edge, making sure it's smooth as it's going under the needle. This is just very finicky. I'm not a fan. did it. Okay. Yeah, so here's what that looks like on inside. But we're almost done. We just need to add the bottom band. Okay, this step I'm struggling with a little bit. And anytime that happens, I like to read things just one line at a time. So I have this band that's going on the bottom here. I know I sewed it together. So I know that this part needs to go here with the ties. So let's read through this one line at a time. Match and pin the snipped edge on your waistband to the lower front edge of your top piece. Pin the notches on your waistband and top together. Do I have notches? Are these what we're calling notches? Pin the back seam to the notch at the center back. So that's going to be that seam. Sew around your waistband, back stitching at the beginning and end. I think it needs to go. And then, wait, we probably want to go like this. This gets pinned here. So let's see how this is getting finished. Just gotta go slow. Take it step by step. That's going together there. So these notches are getting lined up with, oh man, I'm over this slippery fabric. Okay. I didn't quarter, but what I'm gonna do is just kind of, oh, I do have notches. Look, there's the notches in the band. All right, we're doing stuff. I don't care. Okay. Said the armholes were the trickiest bit of sewing, but I have a feeling this is maybe gonna be a little trickier. Okay, let's go sew. Oh, and I should have started, forgot I'm not going all the way around, so I started at the side seam. Okay, did it. That's it, that's the top done. And then this is this gets tied. Okay, it's done. TBD if I put this part in the video, we'll see. Overall, pretty happy with it. A couple of things that I'm not loving. There's some weird pulling happening here around the armholes. I'm not sure. I think they just come up too high. I think I need to edit the pattern piece to kind of scoop out this section right here, and that would be better. And then I think I would also, if I make this again, I'm going to make this bottom band a lot wider, scoop out the arms. But otherwise, I'm pretty happy. Like, this is definitely wearable. It's comfortable. I feel secure. I feel locked in. But yeah, I made a swimsuit. And now I just have to make the bottoms. So that's going to happen another day. This is it for today. So this is the bottoms. I sewed the lining together. I sewed the main together, and then now I'm trying to sandwich the folded in half waistband in between the main and the lining and have it all stretch and fit and be even. And it's just really tricky with this slippery fabric. So if I was a smarter person, I would probably take the time to pin it really good, but I'm not. So I'm just going to fuck with it as I go, and we'll see how that goes for me. Okay. This, unfortunately, is as far as I'm going to get tonight, which is annoying because I could finish these. I tried them on. They fit great. I'm so excited. I ran out of elastic. 2 yards was not enough. So and the shop doesn't have more. So I'm not sure what I'm doing about that. But this just needs elastic and then it's done. All right, and here are those finished bottoms. I got some more elastic and finished these up. Honestly, they turned out perfect. I am so happy that I don't know if you want to call it a hack or what, but cutting a medium for the front and an extra large for the back, just it worked so good. And it's funny because my whole adult life, buying swimsuits has been an absolute nightmare because for the bottoms, if they fit in the front, they were riding up my butt in the back, or if they fit in the back, I had like diaper situation in the front. And so for the longest time, I was like, I should buy a small and a large and sew them together. And that's basically what I did here. And it worked. And it made me so happy. A couple of things I think I will adjust on the bottoms. I did end up using a different elastic for the leg holes. So I don't know if that's what caused it, but it's not tight enough. Like I want it to be a little more cinched on me. So I just need to do a shorter elastic next time. Yeah, I am so happy. I made a swimsuit. Like I feel so powerful and confident. So I made another swimsuit. I really loved the first one so much, and I had a couple of tweaks that I wanted to make. So I made another one, and it only took me a day. It came together super fast, and I'm super, super happy with it. But I thought I would share kind of like my big takeaways and tips from making a swimsuit so that if you decide you want to try to make your own, hopefully I have helped you a little bit or encouraged you a little bit. But my first big takeaway is probably all about the elastic. That is probably the trickiest part of doing the swimsuit is putting the elastic in. It's really weird because you have to stretch the elastic as you're sewing it and getting it lined up on the fabric, and it's just like a lot happening. So that was very tricky. But one thing I noticed on my first one is that my leg holes weren't as tight as I would have liked them. So for the second one, I did not go by the pattern recommendations, which was I think 90% of the opening. Instead, what I did was I actually measured the elastic like around my leg where it was going to fit and cut it to that length. And I think that did work better. This leg hole is like perfect. It's still like cinched up and it fits really good. This one I did still kind of have some issues with. You can see that it's like laying kind of flat, whereas like this side is still nice and stretchy. My best guess as to why that happened is I was probably like pulling on the elastic more in these sections as I was stitching it on. So there was more to like bounce back. And this one just wasn't, it didn't have to be stretched as much. So there wasn't as much for it to bounce back, is my guess. So that's something I'm going to think about if I do this project again. But yeah, overall, getting the elastic to just the right length, a little tricky. It does stretch out a little when you do the top stitch. So on these pieces, I did just a regular zigzag stitch. And I think I prefer that. I think I got better like bounce back. On the top, I did a triple stitch. So a triple stitch is just where it goes like 3 stitches over, then 3 stitches over, then 3 stitches over. So I did that for the top, and I think it flattened the elastic out more. And then I also, this one is kind of like flipping out. It works, it stays better when I wear it, but I think I maybe could have top stitched not as close to the edge, and that might have helped with that issue. Or I think, I don't know. But yeah, the elastic was tricky. As far as cutting goes, just use pattern weights because it's really shifty. So the more you can like put weight on your pattern on the fabric, the better to hold it in place. I would definitely use a rotary cutter for swimsuits and not scissors. I think trying to cut that pattern out with scissors would have been a nightmare. So yeah. And then assembly wise, it came together really fast. I definitely recommend taking the time to take a piece, like a scrap piece of your fabric, and test out all the different stitches that you need to use because I needed a zigzag to stitch on my 1/4 inch elastic, and then I needed the zigzag for top stitching. So it was good to kind of get that figured out on a test piece before doing my actual piece. Make sure you're using a stretch needle. And then another tip I have for working with this kind of fabric, just in general, I think, is definitely using a lot of pins, which is such an annoying tip to give because I am not a pinner. I, yeah, I do not pin the majority of the time, but I really had to with this fabric. It's just so slippery. And whenever I took the time to really get things in place and pin it nicely and do a bunch of pins, the sewing went so much better because I wasn't trying to like stretch the fabric back into place. So take your time, use pins, use ballpoint pins. And my last tip for working with knits in general is make sure that you triple check what you are sewing before you actually sew it. Especially if you're using the little lightning knit stitch, which is what I use to like sew all of my pieces together. You can see here that I ended up with the seam of my waistband in the center front of my bottoms instead of the center back. I just wasn't paying attention when I was pinning all those pieces together, and I didn't check it before I sewed, and I'm not unpicking it. There's no way I'm fixing that. Luckily for me, the pattern almost kind of matches, so like it's really not that noticeable. But yeah, just like triple check things before you start sewing so you don't make that mistake like I did. But overall, I had a lot of fun making a swimsuit. But I really hope this video encouraged you to give making a swimsuit a try. And if you do give it a try, let me know. I would love to hear how it goes for you. But yeah, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to my channel. I've got a lot more fun things planned for the future.